Welcome to another Platinum Greatwyrm episode of the It's a Mimic podcast, where you never know what you're going to get. Welcome to a special mailbag episode of the It's a Mimic podcast, where I, Adam, am sitting down again with one of our Patreon subscribers, Scott, who is one of our patrons of Platinum Greatwyrm tier. That means he's able to sit down and record an episode of his choice with us, and he decided that today we're going to be converting the Pathfinder adventure, A Fistful of Flowers, into Dungeons & Dragons with the 2024-2025 rule set. 5.5, D&D 24, what else are we calling it these days? 1 D&D, there's too many freaking names.
Can I just call it 6th edition?
No, that's the one thing it isn't, weirdly enough. So the one that drives me nuts is 5th edition version 2. I'm like, you're just pissing me off now.
5.0.1.
Right, like don't do that. They're trying so hard already to make it like a video game with like microtransactions and shit. We don't need to encourage that train of thought. So
Okay, sorry, my bad.
Yeah. Anyway, Scott, how you doing?
You know, it's been a summer. It has been a week, but this has been the light at the end of the tunnel for my week. I have been looking forward to this. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I know I've already said it on our Discord along with everybody else, but I want to publicly say congratulations on the engagement.
Thank you. Yes, that happened actually, I think 2 months after I sat down last time to see you.
Yeah, it's been a little while, but we all got really excited for you, and the fact that we didn't get a play-by-play in the Discord is going to be a point of contention for me for a while. So, but don't worry, I'll bring it up when I crash your wedding.
Okay, that's fine. Hey, listen, I had a very, very rough draft of anyone that I think that would show up, and you and Mieke may have made that list, but we'll see when we actually start planning things what happens.
Hey, look, don't stress about us. If it's going to cost you an extra whatever dollars for the food, don't put yourself out for us. But that'd be a load of fun. At the very least, we will have to make a point to like come through Colorado at some point and just hang out.
Well, and it's funny because then we were actually thinking maybe for our honeymoon, because we love the Rocky Mountains, but every other United state with the Rocky Mountains in it is a little less accepting of gay people. So we just continued to follow them up north. And I said, hey, I know people in Vancouver.
Hell yeah, you do.
So that's an idea we have of maybe our honeymoon will be up there. I don't know yet. We're wanting to get married in approximately 1 year. I have time.
Hey, look, you want a honeymoon in Vancouver? Send me a message. I've done all of the touristy shit with Mieke over the last 7 or 8 years. I got a pretty good handle on what to do here. So if you wanted to kill any amount of time in Vancouver, I've got some suggestions. Or even just like outside of Vancouver, we've got like the rural areas up in the mountains for hiking and stuff, and Vancouver Island is whale watching. Is a bunch of shit. So like, you let me know.
Oh yeah, no, I know if that's where we're going. You and Mieke probably will end up planning half of it. I'm going to be honest, of just all of the things that we are going to be like, well, you got to do this, you got to do that.
This episode of It's a Mimic is sponsored by the British Columbian Tourism Board. So yeah, we're going to get into it. Anyway, let's actually get into Pathfinder, the reason people clicked on the episode. So first of all, can you give me a reason why we are going to change and adapt a Pathfinder adventure, and give me the details on what that adventure is, just for everybody else really quickly, like 2-minute breakdown of it. So like, what are we doing and why?
Yeah. So I have the Fistful of Flowers adventure module that I absolutely love. If you don't know why I love it, literally just listen to my last episode, because I sat there and yapped about how I made these guys play it. It was a lot of fun. I want to adapt it because I love it, and I have some friends now who want to play D&D, even though I was doing it for years, and now I play Pathfinder, and I'm not making them play Pathfinder, because that's just going to be harder for them for their first tabletop game. Let's start with D&D. Also, find me a D&D one-shot. I have looked. I mean, you can find them. Do not at me. This one's by Paizo. It was easy for me to find. and I love it. It doesn't take things too seriously. You play as leshies. They are sentient little plant people. Some of your little leshy friends have been kidnapped, and you get to go find them. You will find yourselves crossing a dangerous river, talking to a fun little fairy that I love to role play, and then into town where a deer may or may not completely wreck your shit, depending on which of my parties you are. From there, you get to mingle with townsfolk, explore, meet the kidnapper, find out why he kidnapped, and then go off to actually rescue these leshies. So, all in all, you have about 3 different combats. You get to just play as goofy little plants. Sometimes you have an agave trying to sell a tequila MLM, and you just don't know what to do with it. That's what I got. That's what we're getting into. I want this in 5th edition because I want it to be not as math heavy for my friends who have never played role playing games before.
Until they get into the pamphlet of the MLM. Thank you, Robert.
Yes. So.
All right. Well, let's jump into it because I did a little bit of research ahead of time. I found a couple of Reddit threads and a couple of sites and whatnot that said, "Oh, all you have to do is this to this," but it was Pathfinder First Edition to regular Fifth Edition, and I don't think it's changed too much. And we are, to be fair, going from Pathfinder First Edition, right? Like this was not a Second Edition adventure.
No, this is a 2nd edition adventure.
Okay.
So this was the free RPG Day adventure they did, and I want to say 2023.
Okay.
So yes, it is a 2nd edition adventure. So I know when we're looking to do 2nd edition to 5th edition, there are a couple of things that we can look to see how they do it. We have Abomination Vaults, which is available on D&D Beyond, which is a Pathfinder 2nd edition module. Of course, I don't want to spend $50 on it on D&D Beyond and then another $40 for the PDF on Paizo just to have it in both editions to figure out. But you could.
You know what? On the next, okay, so for those of you that are not paying attention to the Patreon, you're not subscribed to it or whatever, I often do, like, once every handful of months, I will grab some of the partnered content or whatever's been a D&D Beyond exclusive, like some of the like small adventures that get released digitally that go along with, the new books and whatnot. And I will go through it and kind of investigate it live on mic and then pass judgment upon it to see what's interesting, if you should spend your money, and so on and so forth. Abomination Vault is in the next group. I haven't sat down to look at it yet, but it is very much my intention to, after that, sit down and look at the conversions that were done and do a little mini bonus episode for it on the Patreon. If I do get to that, and I expect I will, it'll actually be for all of the like everybody who follows us on Patreon. So even the free followers that are not paying anything should have access to that bonus episode. So, by the time that this comes out, that might be coming right around the corner for anybody who wants to just go to Patreon and give us a follow, essentially. So not that I'm plugging my shit, but like I do want to dig into this. That is a lot of it's incredibly interesting to me. This is fun for me to sit down and reverse engineer how they're doing shit. And so I think what we're going to talk about today are kind of like the quick and easy, cheap homebrew way of doing it, but I'd love to get into the gritty math of it as well. And so that's kind of my intention there. Abomination Vault is probably the only example of a straight conversion from this edition and this game to this edition and this game. Everything else is going to be done by people, right? Like just by fans, but for free on Reddit. It's going to be things that we have thought about, and we really like this. And if I was going to run it, it'd be this way. And I don't like this for D&D, or I don't like that for Pathfinder, right? Like it's going to be very opinion based, which is fine because we're grabbing people's wisdom and experience, right? So. But I want to see how the companies did it, right? And see if I can figure out that puzzle.
So then the next piece of the puzzle is we may not have time this time, but maybe next time, Pathfinder 2nd Edition's Kingmaker. So Kingmaker was originally a 1st edition module. Kingmaker they've ported over to 2nd edition. And then they have a bestiary for 5th edition. So you can play Kingmaker in 5th edition and used that book for the monsters for 5th edition.
Interesting. Kingmakers, it has been so famous. I've heard it so many times online.
It is of every single adventure path Paizo has put out for every edition of everything you can imagine, Starfinder, Pathfinder, everything, Kingmaker is the one that people know. Did you know there's actually a Kingmaker video game that takes you through the adventure path?
I didn't, but I'm not surprised. I assume that was fans that did it, not Paizo.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure who did it, what did. My ex played it. I never did. But yes, there is a Kingmaker video game where you can play through the Kingmaker adventure path. So yes, there is a bestiary, however you want to say it. I'm an accountant, not an author. Yeah, so there's another resource there. All of that costs a lot of money. So if you're Scott, you're going to spend $45 a month to this podcast. So Adam will sit down and help you do it.
And that's pretty much it. I was sitting there going, you're right, it does take a lot of money. I think that it could be in the November budget. If I sit down, like I'm already doing the math on that to find out, all right, let me get my hands on this Kingmaker shit, because it's like it has been on my radar but not investigated at all, and it's very much something I'd like to jump into. But anyway, let's get
and the new hyperfocus.
Right. I mean, this will, if I can be honest, I'm sitting down looking at like when am I going to have time, and I've got Mieka in town. I was telling you before the recording, I've got Mieka in town for all of October again because it's our 1-year anniversary, our wedding anniversary, of course. And I've got Casey's birthday, Megan's birthday, Halloween. My mom's birthdays, and like there's so much shit going on in October, and there's talk of like a Ren fair and stuff. And so I'm just gonna, like, I'm sitting here going, I feel like this might be what I do on the Remembrance Day stat holiday. I'm gonna sit down with Kingmaker. That feels like a thing that I'm planning 3 months in advance. So but let's jump into the actual conversions now. And the very first thing that we want to get into is the idea of the leshies, right? So
it's kind of an important part. How can you tell a story of being little plant people, saving your plant people friends, if we don't have a little plant people to play as in D&D?
Right. Now, there are a bunch of different kinds of leshies. And this is one of the things that Pathfinder does really well compared to Dungeons and Dragons, is D&D's idea of customizability is to give you the very basic skeleton and say, make up the rest yourself. Pathfinder's idea of customizability is, here are 10 billion options, right? And so I thank God we're a D&D podcast where we can talk about inspiration and not a Pathfinder podcast where I got to keep up with all the shit they're doing. Right? It's hard enough.
Just for fun, on Archives of Nethys, I clicked on feats because there's feats for everything. Skills, class, ancestry, everything. You get literally a minimum 1 feat every level. Currently on Archives of Nethys, there are 5,575 feats.
Exactly, right? Like, there's not enough time for me to read it, let alone comprehend it, compare it, build my spreadsheets, create breakdowns, and do episodes about it. So, like, there's a lot going into this. And so the very first thing that I want to look at is, how many leshies are there? Let me bring up Archives of Nethys right now, because you and I should probably be looking at the same thing.
Okay, well then, hold on. Well, I guess I could just... By the time I copy and paste this to you, you're already going to be there. And I close Discord. You know what? You're on your own. You know how to find it.
Hey, look, I'm
just going to take a sip of my beer and wait for you to get caught up.
Bam, done. So I like that it starts off here with the lore, physical description, society. All this can port right over, right? Like, we don't need to do any reflavorings.
Flavor text.
Yeah, so we don't need to reskin it at all. It's fine. It's going to be the mechanics that we're primarily looking at, right?
Yeah.
Am I in like the monster section? No, it's ancestries. Hit points 8. Okay, so you get a D8 hit point, right? So
yes, because you do get, I believe only at first level do you get the hit points from your ancestry, but I very much so could be wrong on that.
So that's not a thing in we're going to call it 5.5 for the rest of this, just because it's easier shorthand. But in 5.5, your hit points are always tied to your class hard stop.
Okay. And so they also have that in Pathfinder.
Yeah, but it looks like you start off with a full 8 instead of like a D8 or whatever, right? That you would roll at other levels, right? Your ancestry gets you your full just like 8. Here it is. So, but we can ignore that. right? Because a lot of the heavy lifting will be done by the classes, right? Size is small. That's fine. We don't have to touch that. Speed is 25 feet. Now, I love that. I think that's really flavorful and great. I really preferred it when we had things like gnomes and dwarves and halflings and goblins all had lesser movement as well. But now in 5.5, everything is standard 30 feet. If you have a different kind of speed, it's because you're an Aasimar that pops their wings and flies, or it's because you got a swim speed, but it's always more than the basic 30 feet. There are very, very few monsters even that move slower than 30 feet. And if they do, most of the time they've got like a 10-foot walk, 50-foot fly, or 15-foot walk, 40-foot swim, right? Like, we very rarely see that. I think zombies is one of them. I think they shuffle along at 20 feet. But for the most part, the moment that you get to like CR1, everything is minimum 30 feet. So I think that the 25-foot speed, as much as it does make sense, you're going to actually cripple your players because everything is in like the 30-foot increments when it comes to, or close enough, like almost everything. When it comes to things like spells and ranges and areas of effect and everything else, right? So
and to double down on the reason why why we should do 30 feet speed, that is actually looks like it's more the default for Pathfinder. Humans have 25 feet of movement speed, not 30.
Oh, well, shit, there you go. So that is the basic speed. So we would up that to 30 feet right away. Scott, I got to ask, are you taking notes on this? Are you going to listen to it afterwards when I send you the recording, or should I be taking notes?
I probably should. I have a spreadsheet open I haven't touched. Maybe I'll just go spend some time with Excel.
I was going to call you a nerd, but so do I.
Did you forget the episode the two of us did?
No, not at all. All right, so 30 feet base speed. We can keep sizes small. The attribute boosts. Now, this is something that's different now in 5.5. You get your ability score boost, right, which is what it's called, in your background. You don't get it in your ancestry or species, as they say in D&D, right? So we can actually completely ignore Constitution and Wisdom and then the free attributes. What is free attribute boost? Just like any other one?
Yeah, you get your choice. So when every ancestry in Pathfinder follows one of two rules. You have 2 set boosts and 1 free, which is your choice, and 1 flaw, which is going to be a minus to any of your choice. Well, not any of your choice. For Leshies, it's intelligence that they have their flaw to.
Yeah.
Or you get 2 free boosts. So you get to pick your choice of any 2 skills to boost, or the ancestry will have these 2 get a plus, and then your choice gets a plus, and this one gets a minus.
So that's another interesting thing that we have seen, not so much in the new player's handbook, but let me give you a little bit of lore for anybody that is not aware. During 5th edition, after 2014, but before the 2024, they released a couple of books called Volo's Guide to Monsters and Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, as well as a bunch of other adventures and stuff that would have stat blocks for what they called playable races back then, right? So you would have your lizard folk, your goblins, your Aarakocra, right? So, and in a lot of them, there would be a negative that you would have to give to your ability scores. Like, you get these bonuses, but also a negative. Then, because of some bad publicity about the nature of drow and orcs, what Wizards of the Coast, the publisher of Dungeons and Dragons, did was they pulled Volo's Guide to Monsters and Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes off the shelves and instead released Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse, which had a bunch of all of the non-player's handbook playable races. They had those reprinted, but now without the negatives. So they're trying to steer clear of the fact that based on your ancestry or your lineage or your species or whatever, that you would be bad at something. It's kind of the whitewashing of the whole situation of just bring everything as close to the average as possible. So we would get rid of the attribute flaw altogether when adapting something from Pathfinder to D&D, which is a choice.
And I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I think it would have taken a really good PR team to have gotten through that. And I think it could have happened, but here we are.
But their PR team, they're not going to spend money on PR. They barely spend money on anything these days. So, like, yeah.
Nope, I'm going to stop that right there. Continue.
Yeah. So what we would say is people that are going to play Leshies would probably be looking for backgrounds that are big with Constitution and Wisdom. And if you give me half a second, I can actually pull up some notes because I did a little bit of research on that for another episode.
What, are you currently in the middle of a series going through backgrounds or something?
Right. So Constitution and Wisdom, the guide as Dexterity, Constitution, and Wisdom. The Hermit has Constitution, Wisdom, and Charisma. The Sage, which is probably not right for Leshies, is the Constitution, Intelligence, and Wisdom. And then, is that it? I think that's it.
I mean, the whole lore of Leshies is like some super powerful druid or nature spirit or something just created them. They are just essentially created of nature, from nature, in forests. You're probably not going to, although it'd be a fun homebrew to create an urban Leshy that's, dust bunnies or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fun, but that's not what we're looking at. Every single one of those but Sage that you listed, I very much could imagine being a Leshy in the forest doing this thing.
Oh,
and
sorry.
Almost even Sage, too.
The other one that I missed is Farmer. So Farmer, Guide, and Hermit really fits, right? So we don't have to do too much, like heavy lifting on this. But if somebody wanted to be an acolyte or an artisan or an entertainer, I mean, you let them. That's just how D&D.
Or, someone who wants to start an MLM, you just let them.
Exactly.
And then regret it because you skimmed it the first time, and the day before you fully read it and said, oh, fuck. And then you just had to go with it.
The next thing is the languages. You have Common, and it says Fey in D&D, that's Sylvan, and it's relatively rare. So it also says additional languages equal to your intelligence modifier if it's positive, and then it gives you a list of things you can choose from. However, I don't think that Sylvan is not going to be as universal as Fey is in Pathfinder, and we don't have extra languages based on intelligence. That's one thing that died sometime between 3.5 and 5th edition in D&D. I don't remember if it was in 4th or not, but it's very difficult. Like, you have to have plot reasons to learn more shit, right? So more languages. So
yeah. Well, and for the purposes of this, for this one shot, no, I don't need another language.
For the purpose of the one shot, I agree. However, from a flavor standpoint, if we're gonna homebrew it anyway, we might as well do it completely. I would say Elven fits. I'd be all right with Gnomish or Halfling as well, but I really think that.
What about
Elven
Druidic?
Yeah, Druidic works. Sure. I mean, we tend to keep that for Druids only, but I don't see why not. Right.
In the lore for Leshies, it is a powerful Archdruid that often is the one that creates the Leshies.
I have a question for you as I look at the next thing.
Yeah.
Low light vision. This is not a thing that exists in 5th edition. It says you can see in dim light as though it were bright light, so you ignore the concealed condition due to dim light. Sure. We do have concealment, but we don't have a trait called low light vision. We have dark vision, and we have superior dark vision. It's not called that, but there's dark vision of 60 feet, and then superior dark vision is 120 feet, right? So
we have here the Pathfinder likes having a lot of more rules, where a torch gives you bright light for 60 feet and then dim light for 60 feet, for a total of 120 feet of light. But if you were in that 60 to 120 foot range, it is dim light. And if this Leshy having low light vision can see in dim light as if it was bright light. So it treats all 120 feet of that torch as bright light. Whereas humans don't have any of that. So humans would take penalties for seeing things 60 feet out of the torch they're holding. But a Leshy wouldn't until you hit 120 feet. Do we just give them dark vision to make it the 5th edition equivalent?
I think you split the difference. You give them 60 feet of dark vision.
I agree. I 100% would not give them 120 feet. There are some ancestries that I think have full dark vision at start. Yeah, they can have the 120 feet. But these guys, 60 feet of dark vision sounds good to me.
Also, today's the day that we learned that fire burns more brightly in Pathfinder than in Dungeons and Dragons, because in D&D, a torch gives you bright light for 20 feet.
Oh, I
dim
just
light.
threw out numbers. Well,
Oh,
do
did you?
not quote
Okay.
me on this. Oh
All
my
right.
goodness. I have to look this up now because I feel like I have to.
All right, fair enough. The last thing that's listed here on the page I'm looking at is plant nourishment. You gain nourishment in the same way that plants or fungi that match your body type normally do, though some combination of through some combination of photosynthesis, absorbing minerals with your roots, or scavenging decaying matter. You typically do not need to pay for food. If you normally rely on photosynthesis and go without sunlight for 1 week, you begin to starve. You can derive nourishment from specially formulated bottles of sunlight instead of natural sunlight. But these bottles cost 10 times as much as standard rations, which means that they cost 40 silver pieces. So that's a whole lot of lore. It's not bad. It's pretty crazy, but this is where you start to do a little bit of homebrewing here. And my problem with this trait is it's a negative. Like, it's at best you get to just live your life and do normal things, right? Where you pay a little bit of attention to the soil, the compost pile, or the sunlight, right? If you're down in the Underdark for a significant amount of time, then you can't, right? So if I was going to actually port this over, what I would do is, first of all, I'm going to get rid of this bottles of sunlight stuff. That's just not going to be a resource that players should have to, take care of in Dungeons and Dragons. And I don't think it matters for a fistful of flowers either, right? Like, we're walking around in the forest the whole time. It's day and night, and then we're fine.
If you cannot finish this module within 1 week of in-game time, bestie, what are we doing?
Yeah, you have allowed your players to go off the rails.
It is 3 days tops. And I've run it twice. It takes 2 days both times. If the river and the camp are a little hard, it might take 3 days. But it's going to be 2 days.
If I can be perfectly honest, I would take plant nourishment and I would pull it right out of this, and I would put it in a little subtext box, off to the side, with just some interesting information that if, for example, you are in the Underdark, or if you're in the Underdark and you do not have access to sunlight, then after a week, you will get 1 level of exhaustion, gaining another level of exhaustion every week you're in the Underdark, up to a maximum of 3. And exhaustion works at this point where it's just essentially like negative modifiers, like it's a -2, I think, and your movement suffers. So like it's bad, but it's not super fucking crippling the way it was in 5th edition. So 5.5 handles it a little bit easier. And then I would have something about how the flanus, which is the radiation that you can find down in the Underdark, will actually wipe out all levels of exhaustion for you as well. So like, I would have a little sidebar note about that, and then maybe something similar for the Shadowfell, something similar for the Astral Sea, and something similar for the Ethereal Plane, right? Where there will be other ways which you'll be fine to, like, with the exhaustion things, but it's going to be a weird little like subtext in the sidebar. Like, I'm not going to focus on it, and I'm not going to come up with if you don't do this, you starve to death. Because the only other time we ever see that in D&D is for aquatic creatures, and they just need to be like submersed once every so often to be able to just like stave that off. And I think most DMs just kind of hand wave that anyway and just say, yeah, there's water around, don't worry. It's a whole lot more difficult to find sunlight than it is water. In like sunlight in the Underdark as opposed to water in a desert. Right? Like, I can just DM Fiat, say there's an oasis. It's harder for me to go, yeah, there's a glowing sun. So I probably wouldn't do that. And
that's fair. I would let, though, if I had a Leshy player and we were in the Underdark and maybe they found a glowing mushroom that seemed a little bright, and if they wanted to do their long rest under it, I'd give them 3 days of food worth.
Yeah, I like that.
I was just going to take this whole trait, wipe it out, and replace it with the SpongeBob meme of him saying photosynthesis. So
it's really not going to come up in a fistful of flowers. But
No, and for most campaigns, I doubt it will. How many people in their campaigns actually track food? Now, go ahead and tell me how you've been doing it for so many years, and you don't know why other people don't.
no, fuck that. I don't track rations at all. The only
I ain't
time
got
that
time for that shit.
No, like the only time that I'm going to track, like, hey, carry rations, dumbass. That's pretty much what I say. Until we get into a survival portion of the game, I started my current campaign off with you guys stumble out of a cave there where you woke up imprisoned. You didn't know where you were in a cave system. By the time that you walk out, you realize you're in desert. You have a whole bunch of refugees and no supplies. That was a bit of survival management, resource management, keeping the NPCs alive. So yeah, we tracked water and rations for a little bit. We were watching exhaustion levels of NPCs. We were making sure that, morally speaking, the children should get fed first, but mechanically speaking, these NPCs are more useful and we need them to stay up. Sorry, kids, you're going to suffer, right? Like which way are the players going to land on this? So there's some interesting things involved with that. And in the moment we found civilization, fuck the rations, we don't care anymore, right? So yeah,
There's you can do some DM hand waving with it and make it matter if you want to make it matter. I think the biggest point of that is your plants. Plants don't eat food. How do plants get their nutrients? Make it appropriate for the plant of the leshy that your player is.
Yeah. So this brings me to my next problem that we're going to have here. And I think this is going to be a larger portion of the conversation is we don't have any traits. So let me break it down for you. I pulled up gnomes, okay? Because we've already done an episode on it. People can go listen to it if they want, but they're small sized. They're kind of the same vibe of something cute and fun and kind of magical and whatnot. So gnomes. The creature type is humanoid. We didn't have a creature type that I saw in here, but clearly it's plant, right? So the size is small. It says for them 3 to 4 feet. What was it for leshies? It was like 1 to 2 feet, right? Like you're little. You're itty bitty.
Physical description: a typical leshy is about 3 feet tall.
3 feet. Oh shit, that's bigger than I thought. Okay, great. So
most people don't imagine themselves that big, but whatever. If you want to imagine yourself as a foot tall plant, I'm not going to tell you no.
Yeah. And then we have the speed is 30 feet, which we talked about, and then dark vision, which has a range of 60 feet for gnomes. And then we have gnomish cunning, which is a thing like you have advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. And then there are 2 lineages. So there's something for if you're a forest gnome or a rock gnome. And this is going to be true with all of the species that we get here. If I just scroll down to Goliath, you have, the creature type, size, speed, and then a couple of additional traits. If you don't have dark vision, you get some other kind of bonus that'll replace it. You then get a regular trait and then something that's similar to your ancestry or your lineage, right? They have giant ancestry, so they each get, depending on what kind of giant is in your background, stone giant, storm giant, fire giant, you'll have different benefits as a Goliath, right? So this is what we're missing now. And what was interesting is that a lot of this stuff was picked up by the character build that was given. I remember my character sheet and I had some like plant-like stuff about me, but it seemed to be coming from the class.
So you're looking at Archives of Nethys, the Leshy page, correct?
Yep.
Scroll all the way up, and at the top of the page, hit Leshy Heritages.
Oh, that's where they break it down.
That's where they break it down. This is where you decide: are you a cactus? Are you a fruit? Are you a fungus? Are you a leaf?
Did you just ask me if I was a fruit?
Are you a fruit? Answer the question, Adam.
I don't need to air my laundry out on this podcast. What are you talking about?
Are you feeling a little fruity today? It's okay. You're in good company.
So there are quite a few here. Oh, there are quite a few here.
Yes.
And this, okay. But again, this is only going to cover the lineage or ancestry, or I guess it's heritage here. We still don't have that other basic thing that they get. And I would like to say that I want them to be able to just have advantage on stealth checks if like they are in forested regions or around a certain amount of foliage. Maybe they can camouflage with other plants if they stay still and are not wearing armor, right? Like,
yeah, I'm fine with that. I do know that from a design of Pathfinder, the reason they don't have that is because then you would get a first level ancestry feat. So leshies have 10 different options they can choose from.
which there is a first level feat that will be given, but it will come with your background.
See, and then you're saying that we're still missing that one and the one thing for the
For like
the
the
gnomish
basic
cunning.
trait. Yeah.
Yeah. See, then you would still get a first level Leshy ancestry feat. So that's where Pathfinder gives you 6 million options and literally 10 billion combinations possible.
But I would just kind of like for the D&D purposes, you hand wave it and you give them something like foliage camouflage, right? You can blend in with
Yeah.
with any sort of plants that are above, let's say, a foot tall, right? So any bushes, shrubs, trees, or whatever, you can blend into the background, or you have advantage on stealth checks. To On a successful stealth check where you have advantage, you become indistinguishable from the local foliage, assuming you are not wearing armor. I think that would be a big factor there, to be like, well, I mean, clearly that plant over there is wearing like animal hide. That's a dude.
What do you
Right?
mean the fern in full plate armor looks suspicious?
Exactly. So, do you want to go through each one of these, or do you want to just focus on the ones that were in a fistful of flowers and use those as examples for the rest?
Yeah, we can just do the pre-gens from Fistful of Flowers. Do you have that PDF?
I do not.
Well, it's free, so that's kind of on you.
All right. You know what? Fine.
So we have Bottle Speaker. Adam, you know a thing or two about this pre-generated character. Would you like to share what we need to know about this one?
You give me 1 second. I'm getting my hands on the PDF right now.
Well, you played this one.
I know, but it was also how many months ago?
Fair. Fair.
You need to give me a little bit more grace on this one, because if I can be perfectly honest, I did some drinking when I was younger, and my memory is not perfect.
Yeah, fair. We won't talk about what I did in college. Went to school for music originally and had a musicians write their music.
So it's taking a second to load here, but how many different
It usually does.
yeah, how many different
So there were 4 of them.
there are 4.
Bottle Speaker was a gourd, Fluff Fang was a leaf, and those were the 2 that we had because Gerald
Right.
was playing Fluff Fang. Popcorn was a Von Leshy, and Reaching Rings is a fungus.
Sorry, I'm having some basic frustration here. Let's see if there is. It just does not want to load for me.
I've tried sending it to you over files to you over Discord, but it hates it. But let's see if it likes this one. Oh, would you look at that? It let me drop the zip file.
Beauty. I got a warning that it's potentially dangerous. Scott, you need to know that my computer
it
thinks.
could be.
You need to know my computer thinks you are potentially dangerous.
I'm scared of the things that I may find on your computer. Every now and again, I go through the files on my phone and I find a file named Knucklehead Trout, and then I remember.
That was good times. Yeah. All right. So bottle speaker. Let me see. Gourd Leshy. So that's the one that we're dealing with, is the gourd Leshy. So let's go down to that one. You have a large gourd for a skull, and since you don't have a physical brain, you can use the space inside your head. You store a collection of up to 1 bulk of objects. So we don't have like 1 bulk. Like, I don't know what that language means in D&D. You'd have to do it by pounds, right? The DC of checks to steal objects from inside your head increases by 4. Additionally, if you store any 1 object within your head, you draw it effortlessly into your hand as part of another action. Okay. So I remember playing this, and I didn't really get to use this much because the inside of my head was just where my little familiar twin sprout was hiding. It was just a little like flower bulb, right? So, but I would very much have the thing here be something along the lines of your head is literally empty, and you can use it as a essentially a pouch. And we would grab one of the pouches. The information off of one of the gear lists, right? So one of the containers, it could hold this much. There's disadvantage, not a -4, or like the DC to steal from your head increased by 4. No, it's disadvantage for anyone that wants to reach in and get anything. But you can pull any item out of there without using a action or a bonus action or a reaction, right? That would be incredibly powerful, and that I think fits an ancestry or a lineage pretty well.
Yeah, no, I agree. Have it be, I don't know, half a backpack, a pouch, whatever. I don't know what containers y'all have in D&D, and I also don't know what containers we have in Pathfinder. It was level 3, and my characters got a bag of holding, and nothing mattered.
Fair enough. Hold on. I can grab a container. If we're gonna do this, we might as well do it. I have D&D Beyond up, so give me a sec here.
Okay, I'll look through and see what a backpack can hold for Pathfinder, and then we'll compare our numbers when we find it.
Backpack holds up to 30 pounds within 1 cubic foot.
A backpack holds 4 bulk of items.
Yeah, all right.
Sorry, forgot about that. Let me pull up what it says about bulk, though. Also, I pulled up torches. It's 20 feet of bright light and 20 feet of dim light, so it's just as much bright light, but we get dim light after that.
Yeah, there's dim light in D&D as well. There's just no ability for seeing in dim light any different than what it is. Like your dark vision covers it. There's no low light vision, but we do get dim light. So which just adds a concealment
A
factor.
bulk comes in when you search it is fucking formulas of how much strength you have of what you can carry. So
It's
I'll
encumbered.
just find a damn long sword and tell you. I think a long sword is either going to be 1 bulk or light bulk, but I think it's going to be 1. There you go. Yep, 1 bulk for a long sword.
It's interesting. So it was 4 bulks. Hold on. What is
In a backpack, so
you said long sword?
Yep.
So a long sword is 3 pounds in D&D, which means, and that's 1 bulk. There was 4 bulks that you had for a backpack.
that's
So
12 pounds.
so that's 12 pounds, but we have 30 pounds in a backpack in D&D. So it's a little bit more forgiving.
But a dagger in Pathfinder is going to be a light bulk, and 10 light bulk is 1 bulk. So I can have 40 daggers in a backpack or 4 long swords.
How much does a dagger weigh? 1 pound. So 40 pounds. So yeah.
So yeah, my
Not a
longsword
good
weighs
concern.
10 times as much as your a longsword weighs 10 times as much as my dagger, not 3 times for you. So your mileage may vary. I might just treat it as half a backpack, give you 15 pounds, and call it a day.
Yeah, and still 1 cubic foot. So you could have a bunch
Yeah.
of like light things, but you could have a bunch of stuff, right? So I'm fine with that. That's whatever. I'm not gonna bust it down to anything smaller than 1 cubic foot because I'm not gonna get into fractions. So
I think so far my favorite part of this is when we try to get crunchy with the math and see how quickly that falls apart. So then we just go, you know what? Fuck it, this.
yeah, we're gonna do that 3 more times, I'm pretty sure. So Fluff Fang is the next one, and Fluff Fang was a leaf leshy. So, looking at leaf leshy, your body is made mostly from natural foliage, and like a leaf tumbling from a tree, you land from falls with particular grace. You take no damage from falling, regardless of the distance you fall. Perfect. We don't need to do anything with that. Great.
Copy paste next.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. The next one is popcorn. I love the tiny skulls on the flail for this dragon looking crazy asshole. So
Oh yeah, popcorn's also my favorite of all of the pre-gens, and no one has wanted to play popcorn yet.
best art by a damn sight for all of them. So
Yes, not to say that any of the others are bad, but something about popcorn.
right, it's the angry eyes and the teeth. There's something just like Bowser looking about him, right? That really resonates with me as a freaking millennial. So
True.
Vine Leshy. Your prehensile vines grant you unmatched skill at climbing. You do not need to have any hands free to climb. Additionally, if you roll a success on an athletics check to climb, you get a critical success instead. I would honestly just replace all of this with what do they call it? Not fucking web walker. What's the shit? That's gonna drive me
What,
crazy.
spider climb?
Spider climb. Thank you. I was so close. I would just give them spider climb. Like we have utility things that are happening now, right? Like you don't take fall damage. You can store stuff that you can like produce for free in your hand, and you have a climb speed. I would just honestly give spider climb, but of like 20 feet, right? Faster than.
Or my other pitch for that is if you look at popcorn stat block, what if we gave grasping reach for the vine lashies?
When you wield a melee weapon that requires 2 hands that doesn't have reach and deals at least 1d6 damage, you can change between a typical 2-handed grip and an extended 2-handed grasp. All right, we're already deep into the we don't have these terms in D&D. To use as an interact action. Weapons wielded in your extended grasp gain reach of 10 feet. Okay, so the reason I don't want to do this is because everyone else is doing utility. This is affecting combat and initiative, right?
You're right. Well, I do imagine long vine arms where you can give reach for one less step of die would be fun and cool. But you're right. You're right. We gotta keep it consistent. So we'll give them some spider climb. How much? What did you say? 20 feet?
I said 20 feet so that, it's faster than others can do it because they'll do it at like, well, even with a successful athletics check, it's difficult terrain. So they only go 15. So you can go 20 or maybe even 25, but I don't want to give you full movement on that, right?
Yeah, I kind of like 20 because then it's like I will do it a little faster and I didn't have to roll for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the good trade-off is you just get it, right? And none of that if you succeed on an athletics check to climb, you get a critical success instead. Nah, fuck it. You
Yeah,
just go.
y'all
Just go.
do, we do criticals different. We're going to drop that whole part.
Yeah, fair enough. And then that brings us to Reaching Rings is the last one, who is a little fungus looking guy, which makes sense because he's a fungus leshy. Your body was made from fungi that grows in the shade and caves of trees, and you are at home in dark caverns and warrens. You gain dark vision, you lose the plant trait, you gain the fungus trait. There is no fungus trait. We're going to keep them as plants. You gain dark vision. I would just give them dark vision up to 120 feet.
I agree.
Just give them the extended version, right?
And then he's going to feel right at home in the Underdark because we don't have to have that whole sunlight conversation. He's just going to go find a stinky patch of dirt and sit there for a second and he'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a big fan of all of this. This is pretty simple and straightforward as far as I'm concerned. Do you want to do the other 6 or should we just move on?
I mean, we can talk about the other 6 if we'd like.
Sure. I have a feeling that we're going to do all the monster stats in a fistful of flowers in the next episode. So because there's a bunch of them and we've eaten up a bunch of the time, but we definitely have time to do another of these 6. And then I kind of want to talk about general balance and DCs and stuff as well at the end.
I agree.
Okay, so do we just want to go in order?
Sure. The cactus.
The cactus. Spines cover your body. You gain a spine unarmed attack that deals 1d6 piercing damage. Your spines are in the brawling group and have the finesse and unarmed traits. This is too much shit. It's just too much shit. We don't know what a brawling group is, and we're not going to start handing out finesse and stuff. Honestly, we would just have it say your unarmed attacks deal additional damage, and I would honestly treat it as just 1d4 piercing damage, because our unarmed strikes in D&D sit at 1 damage plus strength, hard stop. You've got to be a monk or a tavern brawler or something else to be able to actually beef that up. It's hard to do. So 1d6 piercing is a lot.
We get 1d4 bludgeoning plus strength. Also, the finesse means that I can roll dexterity to hit, but I still add strength for damage.
Yeah, it's relatively the same for D&D. I would just keep it at 1d4 piercing.
Yeah, I'd be okay with calling it. I'm literally punching you with I'm a cactus, okay? I'm gonna punch you for 1d4.
Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think we need to do much else for the cactus leshy. That's a fun little bonus. Everybody else is getting utility and movement. This one is combat. We'll keep it on the simple small side, right?
Oh my gosh, my brain just did what my brain shouldn't do because it's gonna kill time. If we don't want to write our book about the hook horror who can't give their friends hugs, maybe we'll do the cactus leshy who can't give their friends hugs.
For context, for anybody that's not on the Discord, we came up with a whole really sad children's book in the Discord about the hook horror.
Honestly, you kind of had to be there for it. I'm not gonna become a patron, join the Discord, and then you'll get these inside jokes.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I think there were like 4 or 5 of us that were in there like designing the story on that. That was good.
Literally. And then the second I said to involve Mieka, you said now it's ruined, as if it wasn't ruined before from the start. Adam, come on.
The next leshy heritage is the chrysanthemum leshy. Now it says that this one's uncommon, and it looks like it comes with the feet as well. Like there's a lot going on with this one. So you look like a human child, though with a grand crown of chrysanthemums growing from your head. Already, I'm going to tell you right now, nope, I'm not allowing this in my game. Absolutely not. I'm not going to.
And that's why it has uncommon.
Yeah.
So this is actually from the Tiansha character guide. Tiansha is Pathfinder's Fantasy Asia. So this is going to be very Asian heritage culture inspired.
Which makes a lot of sense with its chrysanthemums, right? Like, These petals have medicinal properties, granting you +1 circumstance bonus to saving throws against poison. Right? There's too much going on in this one. I'm just going to skip it. I don't think we need this. And if we were going to
That's
make
fair.
a
And it didn't
leshy,
come with a bonus feat. That's just that feat requires you to be that ancestry. So it's kind of a tree, which you
okay.
remember from your 3.5 days.
All right. That takes us to fruit leshy. Your body continually produces small fruits imbued with primal magic. At dawn each day, a new fruit ripens. You or an ally can remove this fruit as an interact action. If a living creature that can derive sustenance from food, God, did you just say eat? Consumes it as an interact action within the next hour, they regain 1d8 hit points, plus an additional 1d8 hit points for every 2 of your levels beyond first. What are we going to do with this?
I mean, I kind of like you have a little fruit that can be eaten for a little bit of healing. And it's a number of d8s equal to your highest level spell slot if you were a full caster, because that's how the math would work out, where at first level it's 1d8, and then you hit 2 levels after that for level 3, and it's 2d8. If you're a level 3 wizard, you can cast second level spells. Easy way to remember.
So this is where the math starts to break down when you start to get crunchy between Pathfinder and D&D, because there are so many more hit points in Pathfinder and people are doing so much more damage. So it makes sense
Okay,
to
so
have
what's a health potion?
Right. So I was going to say, like, cure wounds is I think a D8, right? Like that's kind of
No,
our
literally, like, what is a health potion?
potion of healing. It's been so long because I use my own homebrew rules, which I was going to pitch. It's 2d4 plus 2. My suggestion
I mean,
is that the fruit will restore 1 full hit die plus your constitution. And I like this.
I actually like that.
That's my homebrew for all healing potions. It'll just be like the number of hit dice that will go up if it's like superior or excellent or whatever, right? So I like that better because the people that are getting hit more often are the ones up front with the bigger hit dice, and yet the healing does less for them, which doesn't make any sense, right? A barbarian with a d12 hit die is not getting the same benefit of a potion of healing as a wizard with a d6 hit die, and I didn't like that. So it should just be like one of your hit dice. I want to use hit dice more as mechanics. They're interesting and they're not in other games as a general rule. And so I like to play with the mechanics they give us. So I like that better for this, but I wouldn't have it stack and raise all the way up. Because at that point you have access to high level healing and shit. So
that's fair.
All right. We've done fungus, we've done gourd, we've done leaf. Yeah, we did 3 in a row. A lotus.
Look at that.
You effortlessly float on the surface of water. You can walk on the surface of still water and other non-damaging liquids. It's interesting they say that. Of course, that makes sense. Moving at half your normal
Some shithead's
speed.
gonna say, I can walk across lava. You are a lotus. No, you cannot.
Right. You can also attempt to balance to move across the surface of flowing water using DC of a swim check. Okay, when you do this, you can't move faster than half your speed. All right, so this is interesting. I don't see it being necessary at all. Walking across the surface of still water, first of all, how often do you get still fucking water? Most of the time that you need to cross water, it's going to be a river or ocean or something, right? Like you're rarely going to run into this. And you move at half your normal speed, which is just how quickly you can swim in D&D, right? You can swim across the surface of the water. Anyone can at half their speed because it's difficult terrain. So this is entirely useless.
Wait, y'all don't even have to roll to swim?
No. If you want to do better than
have you tried swimming wearing clothing, let alone armor?
Oh yeah, you can have disadvantage on athletics checks to do things. Like there are some rules, but like no, for the most part, no. You can make an athletics check if you want to do better.
Whack. Okay.
Now that I've said that, I'm gonna look up the rules
to look into what the monk. Well, you're pulling that up. I'll yap about my first thoughts. My first thought was, doesn't the monk get to move across water? And they do. They can just move across vertical surfaces and liquids on their turn without falling during the movement.
Does that D&D.
Do we give the Leshy? Yes, that is D&D. That is level 9 acrobatic movement.
All right, so here's the swimming rules. I was right. While you're swimming, each foot of movement costs 1 extra foot, 2 extra feet in difficult terrain. So if it's like choppy water, right, instead of 30 feet, you'll go 10 instead of 15. You ignore the extra cost if you have a swim speed and use it to swim. At the DM's option, moving any distance in rough water might require a successful DC 15 athletics check. So it's DM discretion.
Interesting. Well, do we give them a swim speed? A swim speed implies that they can go down, and Lotus's thing is kind of they float on the surface.
Well, what I was going to say is I was just going to give them all of this stuff, but you walk at your regular speed.
You just can go across liquids, of course, non-damaging ones at just regular speed.
Yep.
I'm cool with that.
Like it's a fun utility. It's very rarely going to come up, but when it does, you're going to feel real good.
That's fair. And even then, if it's difficult terrain, if it's a running river, then you get to move at half speed because it's just treated as regular land for you.
Exactly. Like shifting land because it's flowing water, but still.
Yeah,
the
but
point
that's
remains.
no different than I'm knee-high in weeds.
Exactly. Before we move on, it's worth bringing up because someone's going to be like, what about the spell Water Walk? So let me pull that up. Water Walk is a level 3 transmutation. So they considered powerful, but it is lasting for an hour. The spell grants the ability to move across any liquid surface, such as water, acid, mud, snow, quicksand, or lava. Oh, okay. So even the harmful stuff. The affected target must take a bonus action to pass from the liquid surface into the liquid itself, and vice versa. If the target falls into the liquid, the target passes through the surface into the liquid below. Sure, yeah, we can ignore that. I think what we've got is just fine for the Lotus Leshy.
I think so.
All right, that brings us to another one of these weird ones, another uncommon Peach Child Leshy.
Weird ones.
Well, the ones for clearly from a different campaign setting that is being pulled in, right? So your Leshy spirit.
It's technically the same setting, just another continent.
Sure, but I mean, come on.
It's Fantasy Asia. It is literally Tiansha. It's Fantasy Asia.
A lot of people complain that in the Forgotten Realms, we're not actually exploring anything except the Sword Coast. And I just kind of want to remind everyone that the rest of the continent that we're on is very much inspired by other cultures, and like it is African D&D and Arabian D&D and Asian D&D. And Wizards of the Coast gave up on that shit as being insensitive a long time ago, thinking there's no good way for us to do this properly and be as respectful as we want to be. This is going to be a bunch of potential blowback. So they got rid of it. And when they got rid of what's called, you're going to love this, Oriental Adventures, when they got rid of that racist shit, they sold it off. And the actual region of the world is called Rokugan, and that is where the Legend of the Five Rings comes from. It was actually a discarded D&D setting. So Pathfinder is able to apparently walk that line. I'm sure Wizards of the Coast, if you hire different people from different parts of Africa to represent the African countries or nations or cultures or whatnot, I don't think this will be a fucking problem. But like, whatever.
That is kind of what I was gonna say, because I own the Tiansha character guide that this is from, and in the credits are 4 people listed under cultural consultation.
And that's just it. Wizards of the Coast, specifically, I don't want to throw Wizards of the Coast under the bus on this. Hasbro is not going to put the time and effort into that.
No, they're not going to care if they do it right or wrong. They only care how much you're going to pay them for it.
Exactly. So anyway, let's jump into the actual.
Anywho, so
characters.
The Pine Leshy.
Well, do we want to look at what the Peach Child has to offer?
Well, you did toss out the chrysanthemum.
Oh, this
so
is
do we
another.
Toss out the other one from the same book.
This is another one. You look like a human child. Yeah, no, I'm throwing it away. Fair enough. Pine Leshy, you excrete a thick, sticky. You excrete a thick, sticky sap. You goddamn right I do. From a bark-like flesh. Oh, God, never mind. Making it easier to climb and hold on to your gear. We already gave climb stuff to the Vine Leshy, right?
Yes, we did give them a climb speed.
So this one is
Do we just give them bonuses to I mean, okay, combat climber is gonna be, I don't know how helpful that is because y'all don't do off guard like we do for a -2 AC because we're crunchy and math like, so we can just scrap that because that's not going to matter. I wanted to know if we look into disarm and grapple.
Okay, So we don't do disarm, but I was looking at grapple. The idea, the first part of this, you excrete a thick, sticky sap from your bark-like flesh. I would say that you would have advantage on unarmed strikes, because now grappling is not its own mechanic. It is if you succeed on an unarmed strike, you can decide to grapple. So
Okay.
I would just say you have
Or
advantage.
is there like a disadvantage to escape? Is escaping a thing? God, I
Yes,
don't know anything
yeah,
anymore.
there is an escape DC. So maybe that's how we would do it. Actually, is anyone rolling?
Disadvantage on the escape.
Yeah, to break a grapple.
I like that. What do you mean you guys don't do disarm? If I want to kick the guy's sword out of his hand, I just don't get to.
You don't get to. The idea is that it's a called shot, and called shots get really, really fucky. At any point, you can say, hey, I'm going to try to knock their armor off, try to knock their helmet off. I'm going to try to hit their helmet and spin it around another direction. And because Dungeons and Dragons is a rule set, not a set of rules, and there's a difference. We don't have rules for all of these
That
other
is fair.
things. So instead, we just go really generic. And for some things like disarming or tripping, we just don't have that. There are different mechanics in some enemy stat blocks which will remove your weapon, or which will, we just saw that in the Monster Manual Arena that we do on the Discord, right? I think it was the Kuatoa had a shield that if you hit it, it's going to take a strength save for you, or a strength, maybe it's not the athletics check, I don't remember, for you to pull your weapon off of the shield because it's sticky, right? So like if you hit, there it is. You have to deal with it after the combat.
Interesting.
Right? So it's baked into some of the stat blocks. The same thing with trip, like that doesn't happen. What they'll call the attack trip, right? But it's not going to be a maneuver that anyone can do. And it's just going to make it so that you fall prone and you just have the prone condition. Right. So that's where the maneuvers kind of fall apart and I'm sure you have seen online people complaining about how there's not enough for the martial classes to do. They get outclassed by just the variables, like the variation that the spellcasters get, because they can do all this shit and marshals show up and punch. They hit with a sword at the end.
True.
Right? And so that's one of the big complaints. They got rid of a bunch of these maneuvers. And again, you can find some of that stuff in like the Battlemaster fighter, for example, right? Because there will be extra maneuvers in there. The monk can do extra maneuver kind of shit by blowing, they don't even call them key points anymore. What do they call them now? Focus points, I think. So like there's some things that you can do, but for the most part, they are trying to get away from people stealing items off other people, because that was some of the toxic shit in 3.5 was the party rogue stealing, pumping everything into sleight of hand and stealing the arcane focus off of the sorcerer, right? We don't do that shit anymore, right? I'm sure you can find homebrew rules for it on Reddit, but for the most part, people don't tackle that. So
I'm so glad I got you sidetracked on all of that, because the root leshy is
I know.
all about how they're sturdy and hard to be moved around or tripped.
That was one of the things that dwarves used to have too in 5th edition, even though there wasn't a whole lot of that. It was just like you have advantage on rolls, but saving against being prone. And that's how it was for dwarves, and that's what I would use for the root leshy. You just have advantage on any save against being knocked prone or shoved. Shove is a thing that still exists too.
Or shoved. Force movement I know is going to be a thing. So yeah, just advantage against being shoved or prone. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then the last one we have is cool. I didn't know this one existed. Seaweed leshy. Your body is made from woven seaweed, and you're just as comfortable underwater as on land. You gain a swim speed of 20 feet. You can always breathe underwater. However, your land speed is reduced by 5 feet. I don't
Copy and paste. Honestly, I'm fine with that.
I don't even need the 20 feet. Give them the full 30 feet.
Okay, sure. Do you agree with reducing their land speed since they're woven seaweed?
No, because remember, we don't give negatives in the species descriptions anymore.
Oh, sorry. You're right. Nothing that could be construed as negative.
Exactly. And it's just that, like, if I can be honest, 99%, even your like coastal pirate adventure, most of it's on land or on ships. You're crippled 99% of the time.
That's fair.
So that you can swim and breathe underwater, 5% of the time. I know that math didn't line up, but you follow what I'm saying. So
I follow what you're saying. I also forget that for me, heavy armor reduces your speed by 5 feet. So they move at the same speed as your human in full plate.
Oh no. Heavy armor just gives you disadvantage
But
on
not for you.
checks. So
Oh, no, we also have the noisy trait for that. So it also doesn't let you sneak around much. So, and it makes you slow because it's fucking heavy. It's in the name of the armor type.
you have to have a minimum
That's
strength.
it for the.
Light, medium, or heavy armor. If you wear light, medium, or heavy armor and lack training with it, you have disadvantage on strength or dex d20 tests. So like any rolls that require strength or dex, and you cannot cast spells if you are not able to wield them. And then what else does it say for heavy? Nothing. It's just there's a column on the armor chart when you choose it that says whether or not you have disadvantage on stealth, and just all of the heavy armor does, plus the medium armor of scale mail and half plate and padded armor. Because I never understood that. Like you're wearing a freaking hoodie, but apparently you're going to be swooshing too much. I don't know.
You know what? Anything to take it away from the edgelords that just want to be the lone wolf who doesn't want to be by the party. I'm okay with.
So I guess that brings us then to the last thing to talk about in this episode before we wrap it up, and that is kind of like the difficulty levels. And you sent me a pretty interesting link before this episode.
I did. Before we get too far into it all, can I literally like take 30 seconds? Oh my god, I have to pee so bad.
No, but yeah, of course.
No? Okay, I'll hold it. So uncomfortable. I know Casey's on her way, but oh my god, my bladder. Literally like 2 minutes.
No. Yeah, go. It's fine.
And frankly, I don't even care if you keep that in the episode.
No. I'm gonna keep talking. Actually.
You know what? Go for it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm leaving.
Okay, bye. So when it comes to the differences between 5th edition, for anybody that's still with me, that's not doing a bathroom break, when it comes to the differences between 5th edition and 5.5, they really touted the idea of backwards compatibility. Over this past couple of weeks, I've been working with my players to kind of figure out what that means, and it was far easier than we thought it was. And we discovered that most of the most of the classes and subclass features and spells, not all, but most, stay the same or get better. There's a lot of power-ups that Charlie is one of my players, obviously, and he was just sitting there really resisting. He was the only one at the table who said, I just learned D&D. I don't want to learn a new version of it. Then to sit down and read and go, oh shit, I'm probably going to change out about 3 of my spells, because I allowed them to do that with this conversion in the middle of a campaign. Because I'm probably going to change out 3 of my spells and 1 of my cantrips. But like, for the most part, I just get better all over the place. And I'm like, yeah, the ones that get affected are Wizard, who was getting their subclass at level 2, and Warlock, who was getting the subclass, or they were getting their patron at level 1, but now they get it at level 3 as their subclass, and the pacts change. So like, for the most part, a lot of it, when it came to the conversion, was very, very easy. When it comes to the difference between Pathfinder and Pathfinder 2.0, everything that I've seen has said also that it is, I don't think they use the words backwards compatible, but there's definitely compatibilities there. It is a rules update in a lot of ways, but you can port stuff over fairly easily within the system itself. And I kind of think that maybe, I know that Pathfinder released 2.0 about a year and a half, 2 years maybe. Don't quote me on that, but like a little bit before 5.5 came out. And I think that this method, this template that they're using of, we still want to be able to use the old stuff, inspired Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards of the Coast to say, hey, this is possible. I know that they would do it for a number of reasons, including sales and marketing reasons and so on and so forth. D&D Beyond and support and all that shit. But like, for the most part, it has been a fairly seamless transition. And it's not that difficult to convert over. What you just do is you take the subclasses, the old subclasses, and you move them over. Well, I told Megan, who's playing a half elf, and Dan, who's playing a furbolg, I'm like, hey, find the background that works for you and just use those ability scores instead. And if it doesn't line up for you, then we'll just hand wave it. It doesn't matter. Your character build doesn't have to change too much. So it's been very simple and straightforward. The only thing that I have to say is, with a little asterisk there, is we didn't do it for Casey because she's playing an artificer. And at the time of this recording, at the time of us doing the conversion, Eberron had been delayed. We got to the natural plot point, the part of the story where it came time to like revamp the characters a bit. And unfortunately, Eberron was announced like the week before that it had all those printing problems. So it's going to be delayed by a few months. So Casey's going to have to do a little heavy lifting again later. But And I can't claim that artificers are as easily backwards compatible as a lot of the other classes, but yeah, conversions are not that hard when you sit down and just apply your common sense to it, and say, how can we get to the end product, and what steps do we need to take to get there, and what do I get from this that from like the old version, what do I get from the new version? I want to mash them together. What are all the parts that are non-congruent? And that's what you look at, because most of the stuff does line up pretty freaking well. Anyway, Scott, are you back? You mostly babble.
I got back right to hear you say something about Casey and the Eberron book was delayed, and I shed a single tear because R.I.P. Eberron.
Oh, no, not RIP.
I mean, she's not dead, but
No, yeah,
she's delayed, and I want it. I want it.
well, the book itself is done, right? What happened was there was a printing issue, and I don't believe it was Watsy's fault. I think it was a problem with the printer that they used, and they printed thousands of books and then discovered the, I want to say, binding issue. Again, don't quote me on this. It's been a while, and I don't care, right? But like, there was a delay, and they just said, hey, instead of rolling out a limited release of this or making it only available on D&D Beyond as a digital purchase, we're just going to say, you know what, we're going to do the whole thing at the next available spot in their printing queue, which happens to be in like early November. So we'll have it all printed by late November. We'll get it all out by early December. And the community essentially said, well, that sucks, but yeah, I guess. And so here we are.
I mean, yeah, does it suck? Yes. But you know what? It is what it is. My work, we sell 50-pound boxes full of books. So boy, howdy, do I actually know a lot more about how that works out than you'd think I would.
Yeah.
And I will tell you what, hell hath no fury, like your entire customer base, if you ship out a batch of books where the spine's just going to break in half a week in.
Oh, I'm certain. Yeah.
Oh, Lordy. I have been through that customer service nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. The last thing you want to do,
I get it.
I would rather do a late product than a shitty product, and that
Exactly.
explains why sometimes we miss a deadline on It's a Mimic as well. I look at it and I go, I could not cut it. I could just release it unedited. No, I'd better go in and fix the audio. Fuck. All right.
Yeah, but it still doesn't explain the AI art. But anyway,
well, in theory, they've stopped AI art. They're still using AI to like work out some of the mechanics and fill out some of the lore. Like, they're taking old stuff from previous editions and saying, hey, condense this down to 8 pages, right? Like that kind of shit they're doing, which, I mean, they're using AI to fuck with their own products. I don't care too bad. I would just like us to stop using AI because it's literally killing the fucking environment. But let's not
do
have
you know how
that
happy
rant.
some intern would be to do that? Anywho, I did right before I left to use the restroom. Thank you, because boy, howdy, did I have to go. You said I sent you quite the interesting link. Now, I have 3 links up that I wanted to make sure I had up for this based off of proficiency and skill checks and everything.
Mhm.
Which link is it that you're talking about is the interesting link?
Proficiency without level.
Yes, that is an optional rule in Pathfinder because that is how D&D does it. Every time you level up, well, okay, there are 3 times in your D&D campaign that leveling up changes your proficiency. Okay, there are 20 times leveling up changes your proficiency in Pathfinder. You add your level to your proficiency every time. So we have this alternate rule where you don't do that. And it makes the math closer to how D&D is.
Yeah, I mean, for D&D, the proficiency goes up 4 times. But
sorry.
No, I just want to be clear because I just know there's going to be someone in the YouTube comments, right? Like,
yeah, how dare someone in the YouTube comments come after a Pathfinder player for having D&D information wrong?
Right. But yeah, so the idea is on this one that you sent, it breaks it down to proficiency, rank, and the DC. Proficiency rank is just untrained, trained, expert, master, and legendary, which is just an extra level of flavor. In the player's handbook, under the section D20 tests, there's a subheader about saving throws. And if you scroll or if you look just slightly above that, you're going to find the difficulty class. And it, instead of having untrained, trained, expert, master, legendary, which is DC 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30, it has very easy, easy, medium, hard, very hard, and nearly impossible, which is DC 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. So the idea is we're looking at the bounded accuracy here, right? And with the bounded accuracy, we're focusing on the idea that any roll of 25 or higher is always going to be incredibly impressive. And yes, your characters might be able to just do that when they're higher levels, but they should be, because they're very impressive fucking players, or characters at that point. And while they're doing this one thing really, really well, they're still entirely average for a Goliath or a human or a whatever hermit or a soldier, right? Like they're average for it. So the DC for everything else stays relatively the same. You don't just become a superhero in fucking everything, and it doesn't let you kind of min-max too much, right? It minimizes the min-maxing. So what else do you have, though? Because you said you had a couple of the links you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so I had a total of 3 of them just because I wanted to go through maybe some of those other ones. I do want to take a second back and go, yes, we have untrained, trained, expert, master, legendary. You can be trained, or you can be expert, you can be master, and you can be legendary proficiency in any skill in Pathfinder. It just changes your proficiency bonus to that roll. Whereas in D&D, your proficiency bonus goes up with your character level. We scale it. You get to upgrade skills every few levels, depending on your class. Rogues get it every level, and that's why Andy is playing a rogue in my campaign, is trained in every single skill in the entire game, because we're level 12, and he's had that many increases. It's fine. But you can go from more than just trained. Trained is just a +2. You can get expert to get a +4 in that, plus your modifier, of course, and then plus what you roll. So yes, there are the different levels that we have of proficiency. So when it comes to porting over this module, one of the links that I have here is to note that you can only get to master proficiency once you've hit at least 7th level. So we're not going to deal with anything master or above. Trained and expert, and of course untrained, are our 3 options that we're going to see for skills within this module.
I think the thing to do with the module specifically is to look at how difficult it's supposed to be. If there is a DC of something in the module that is, a 22, you can assume that it is supposed to be relatively difficult. It'll be between hard and very hard. And depending on how proficient the characters are. So I'm just trying to look at the skills that for bottle speaker. I'm trying to find out what level is bottle 3. They're all 3rd level characters, right? So
yes, it is a 3rd level module.
Yes. So the idea of having +9 into some things at 3rd level is a little fucking wild. You can expect to get that, I think, with bards and rogues, but like it's fucking rare to get it that high, because at most by 3rd level you would have 5 in the ability and your proficiency modifier would still be +2. So the best you're going to get is +7. So +9 is intense. So when we look at the DCs in Pathfinder, we can see that they're probably scaled 1 or 2 points higher at low level than they would be for Dungeons and Dragons. And as you tend to go, you've got to look at, all right, what are the average skills? What are the average proficiencies going to be for an 8th level Pathfinder player? And what are the DCs for some of the saves, specifically on monsters and traps, that are geared towards 8th level play? And when you see those numbers, you can kind of figure out what do they need to roll on the die to do that. And then when you look at...
So we actually have DCs by level is its own table. I always have a hard time finding it in Archives of Nethys, so I will just message it to you real quick. That way you can see this is the average difficulty based by what level you are. For level 3, we're looking at DC 18. So with Bottle Speaker having a +9, you have to roll a 9. So that's going to be half the time you will get that.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah, try DMing it, especially after a couple of drinks. Sometimes it gets a little challenging.
This is absolutely fucking wild that like by level 10 the DC on things is 27. An average DC is 27.
My party is currently level 12. Adam, what is their standard DC for a level 12 party?
30. It says in the
That is correct.
in the sentence above, note that PCs who invest in a skill become more likely to succeed at a DC at their level as they increase in level, and the listed DCs eventually pose very little challenge for them. That doesn't happen to the same degree in D&D. They flattened the curve by a damn sight. So that even at 12th level, if something is hard to do, it's got a DC of roughly 20 to 25, right? And that's just it. There's no way, there's nothing above a 30 in Dungeons and Dragons. And as a matter of fact, that's fucking unheard of. I would say there's very little above a 25 because you're going to be like a CR 22 or plus monster. Like you're a legendary fucking monster. Looking at level...
But I mean, just flat subtract the level. So if you take, for level 12, our DC is 30, flat subtract my level, and now you're looking at DC 18.
Yeah, for an average roll, right? And that should be relatively easy by the Pathfinder standards, but for D&D, it's pushing towards hard, right? It's not easy. It's in the upper echelons of medium to hard difficulty, right? So I think the best thing to do is to look at what you're trying to get out of the module itself. Let's grab a fistful of flowers and open it back up again. And I'm going to see if I can find just a random DC in the adventure.
There's going to be one at the river. Page 3. Oh, there's a lot at the river, actually. We have a DC 16 crafting, DC or nature, DC 18 perception. That's to find some clues.
Here's one. Crossing the river. To follow the tracks, the PCs must cross the river. Swimming across is possible but difficult due to the current. A PC who succeeds at a DC 20 athletics check to swim can make it across, but on a failure, they wash ashore back to their side of the river, and they take 1d6 bludgeoning damage if they critically fail. Or you can repair the rope bridge with a DC 18. DCs of 18 and 20 at level 3 would stop the party in their tracks in D&D. And this is what I'm saying is at level 3, we're expected to have someone in the party with a +6 to +9, in their stat block. They might be able to cover this, especially if the module is taking that into consideration with pre-generated characters, right? You're not going to get that level of skill in a D&D character, right? They just don't have that much put into the skills. So where it was, 20 to swim across, 18 crafting check to rebuild the rope bridge, you would be dealing with like the athletics check would probably be an 18, like it's difficult, but I still have to adjust it downwards because that means that someone that is proficient in athletics, they probably only have a +6 in it, which means they're still going to have a less than 50% chance of being able to succeed at this, right? It's going to really require a little bit more than just the removing the level from it. It's going to take a little bit more balancing than that. And I also hate the fact that a lot of the DCs that I run into all kind of stick in one common. When you're running a module in D&D, I don't know if this is true in Pathfinder, but they only bother to tell you the difficult DCs or the ones that could really fuck the players up if they don't succeed on it. They never give you something that's a moderately easy to medium.
Oh,
right?
no. If you look in Fistful of Flowers, under the clues section, the second paragraph, it literally has a successful DC 10 nature check to recall knowledge.
Oh, shit.
That's to identify that it, in fact, was your friends there, which you're looking for some leshies that are lavenders, like the flowers, and there's purple petals on the ground by the area you knew they were hanging out. So yeah, a DC 10 nature check, which, by the way, Bottle Speaker, the druid, has a +9 to.
Yeah.
He knows.
So that's one thing I like about Pathfinder modules a little bit more than what I've seen in I don't know if they've changed it at all in recent years. I used to dig into the old adventures, Out of the Abyss and Curse of Strahd, and anything really before Tomb of Annihilation. So the Storm King's Thunder and stuff. I was digging into those pretty hard to see how encounters were balanced, and I learned the hard way in a lot of that shit because they really only show you some of it and not all of it. I like that it's a little bit more in depth here. There's some more options, but I also want to remind people the skills are different. And that's kind of, I think, the thing we want to wrap up this episode on is you have to adjust the skill levels, but we only have a certain number of skills. There are way more skills in Pathfinder, right?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of skills. So especially when I said Andy's a rogue and he's trained in every skill, there's more of them.
So do you want to pull up the skill list for Pathfinder? Or we
Yeah,
can go
I'm
through
counting
them?
right now, but yeah, I have it pulled up right now.
Oh,
So to kick it off, alphabetically, of course.
sure.
Well, here I will get the count. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We have 16 skills, and then a 17th one being lore, in which you have to pick the lore that you are trained in. So we'll just call it 16 skills.
Really? I thought there were a lot more than that because there's, I think, 18 in D&D. That surprises
Are
me.
there?
Yeah, I think I might be thinking about how extensive it was in 3.5 and when it was ported over in first edition.
And that could be true. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm happy with my list of skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, what do you got?
Okay, acrobatics. It's
Yeah,
gonna pretty much the same.
yeah, we have acrobatics. That's the first one for us as well.
I have arcana, which is arcane magic.
Now, you're already missing one that D&D has, and that's animal handling comes next.
No, that's just grouped into nature for me.
Interesting. Okay, so yeah, so we don't, we have arcana as well. I think it's the same. Recall lore about spells, magic items, and the planes of existence, etc.
Yes, that's arcane magic specifically because we will get there. We have athletics next.
Yeah, same thing.
Yep, crafting. Do you guys have crafting? I don't remember.
No, fuck the crafting rules in D&D. They're bullshit, and I hate them. They're going to be
The crafting rules in Pathfinder are okay-ish.
there are some details in the new core rule books about it. I'm not wild about it. I went off on a rant on one of the DMG episodes, I think, in when we were doing the transition in this past June, and everyone on the Patreon got to listen to me rant about what's in the DMG for 3 episodes, and then the Monster Manual for 1, the changes that were being made, right? And so I did go a little bit into crafting there. It's better than it was in 5th edition, but 5.5 does not make it, usable by any means. That may be different when we get the Artificer, and it may be different when we look at what's it called? I think it's the Smith Bastion, but I haven't looked at how they all work together. So I think there are ways around how shitty it is, but it's very rare.
I would recommend looking into the Pathfinder crafting rules. I think they have a lot of good intent and a lot of good ideas behind it, and I think there is a lot you could borrow.
Nice. Okay. So what's your next
you
one?
You just get to save maybe up to half the cost of crafting an item, depending on how much time you spend.
And
That's it. That's a good pitch for it.
That's the thing about D&D is they do not have a balanced economy that makes a lick of fucking sense. They just don't. They've decided not to focus on it because that they treated the economy the way that they treat encumbrance. It's there. Don't worry about it, right? And so between that,
don't worry about it,
and the fact that there's not a whole lot of downtime in the written modules. So our adventures that we get in D&D, there's no time for you to spend 4 months crafting a thing. No, you're out on the road doing shit you might be traveling for 4 months, but it's hand waved with a couple of rolls, and there's no like game time for it really. So they just kind of said, this is not going to come up. We're not going to deal with it. So we don't get crafting.
I can respect that. Well, after I have crafting, I have deception because that's how the alphabet works.
Yep, me too.
Then we have diplomacy.
We do not have diplomacy anymore. Instead, we have persuasion.
I think I like diplomacy better because deception and obviously we have deception and intimidation, which intimidation is my next one.
Yeah.
Those are very clear cut what they're doing. You're lying, you're intimidating. And diplomacy, I feel like, is a better catch-all word than persuasion is.
What do you use it for? What's the actual description?
You influence others through negotiation and flattery, or find out information through friendly chats.
Persuasion is just honestly and graciously convince someone of something, right? And it's very, very simple now. There is no gather information anymore. But see, you missed a couple of skills that we have because you jumped from deception to intimidation. We have history, which is recall lore about historical events, people, nations, and cultures, right? And then we also have insight, which is discern a person's mood and intentions. So
So insight for me is going to be caught in diplomacy.
yeah,
History could be lore, or if it's what is the historical event? Is it this magnificent bridge that was built? Then I'm going to use, because history was replaced by recall knowledge, and recall knowledge is going to be the action that you take to roll a skill to learn about it. You don't roll history for who built the bridge, you roll crafting about who built the bridge. Or a lore.
interesting.
Yes, if you're like, this is the most ancient tree of the whole forest. I'd like to roll history about the tree. Well, I'm going to roll nature for it because it's a tree in a forest.
Interesting. So the way that they break it down is in our action economy. So you would just like if you're sitting there out of initiative, you're not worried about what actions you're taking and stuff. Then you just sit back and say, "Yeah, I'd like to know about this," and then the DM will say, "Oh, then that'll be a history check, right?" Or if it's a tree in the forest, it'll be a nature check, right? But when it comes to the
Yes.
actions in initiative, they've added a little bit. And one of them is like you can only do some actions, and one of them is called study, and that's when you make an intelligence check, which is arcana, history, investigation, nature, or religion. Those are the intelligence checks we get. So you would use the study action to recall a thing, like you're sitting there looking
Yes.
at how the bridge is, and then we have and then we would roll this quote unquote study, which would just be like, oh, it's history. Or if it was made by like a choir of angels back at the dawn of time, that might be a religion check, but that'll be up to the DM to determine, right?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of it is up to the DM, but as you could see in the module, when it said the nature check that I was talking about to identify them as the lavenders, it's a successful, the exact wording, a successful DC 10 nature check to recall knowledge correctly identifies them as lavender flowers.
Yeah.
So whereas you have study, I have recall knowledge, and
Yeah.
I get to you can recall knowledge using any skill that would be related to.
Yeah. I think it's essentially the same. There's wording it differently.
Yeah, probably.
And it's interesting
Um,
that they've got insight and persuasion as two separate things in D&D, but it's just all covered by diplomacy in Pathfinder.
yeah, I find insight to be weird, and also insight's a wisdom skill, is it not?
It is, yeah. And everything else is going to
But
be
reading people, charisma is all about social interaction. So if I'm trying to get a read on a person, how is that wisdom and not charisma?
because wisdom is in Dungeons and Dragons. It is not about being wise. They just use that word because it's been grandfathered in from previous editions. The idea with it being wisdom based is because wisdom is the ability that you use when interacting with the world around you. That's animal handling. It's going to be medicine. It's going to be perception, and it's going to be survival, right? It's not about what you know. It's not about your character or your willpower. It is about how you interact with the world, and that is why clerics and druids and rangers are wisdom based, right? So
Still doesn't explain to me how reading someone's social cues is wisdom based and not charisma based.
because you're essentially sizing them up, and it's not about their like whether or not their lies are making intelligent sense. It doesn't matter how charismatic they're being to like be little wordsmiths around you. It is when you look at them, can you see that their eyes are shifting, that they're uncomfortable? Can you see that they say something and other people are looking at them out of the corner of their eye going, oh shit, that's not right. I guess we're lying now, right? Like you're looking for tells at a poker table, and that does not involve your level of charisma. That involves your perception and your interpretation of how the world reacts and interacts around you, right? And so that's the mentality.
Okay, I get it.
Incidentally,
I vibe with it, but
that
I
took me
still
about
think your barge.
sorry, what were you saying?
Nope, you go. I ain't gonna continue. You go.
Oh, incidentally, that took me 3 years to reconcile in my head. It took a long, long time for me because I thought for the longest time insight should be charisma based. I thought it was the exact same thing, and I ended up having a very long conversation
Same.
with Dan as we were stuck at a job site we were working on together, where I was in full rant, and he's like, "Well, okay, how do we make it make sense then?" And then we landed on that, but that took some mental gymnastics to get through. I don't hate it. I just wish that it was laid out properly. You know what I mean? And I think
And
what you
why
started
would
to
I
say,
argue diplomacy's that for me? A good diplomat should know how to read read those.
Yeah. I think you were about to say that that bards should be able to have good insight, and I think you're absolutely fucking right. And that's
Yeah, and I think your charisma, if you're focusing charisma for your character, those are things that your character should be good at. And I think it feels bad if your bard has low wisdom and you don't get to notice those things, even though someone who you have built to just be the pinnacle of social doesn't notice those things.
Yeah, and I mean the argument is, and I'm not saying that it's the right argument. The argument is, if you are the center of social circles and whatnot, it's more about what you're putting out in the world than what you're picking up, right? So
So I have made it through the first line of my skills.
Oh yeah.
You ready for line 2?
Yeah.
Medicine.
Oh shit. So do you still have search or something like that?
Recall knowledge.
I mean
perception. Perception is going to be something that is tied to your class. It is not a skill. You do not get to take skill feats for it. You do not get to have skill upgrades. You don't get to have expertise in perception, and then you get to see everything faster than everyone else, like you can in D&D. Also, we roll perception for initiative, so that's why it is locked behind your class.
Oh shit, that's very different. We not only have perception that does all of the things you just said, and perception, by the way, is using a combination of senses. Notice something that's easy to miss, right? Like, so if you walk into the room, you get the description. There's a couch in the room. Over there, there's a window, and there's a chest of drawers, right? Like, you just see it. Perception is when you're looking for a specific thing, but investigation is the one you're missing, and that is when you find obscure information in books or deduce how something works. So when you were saying before that that you would use some of your skills to like figure out like the history of a bridge, you might be using investigation to understand how it was built, and history to understand when it was built, by whom, and why, right? Like,
no, I'm rolling crafting to see how it was built. How was it built? It was crafted.
Right, and investigation is the actual, and this is one of the ones in D&D that people get confused a lot: perception versus investigation. And I have to remind people,
very true.
Like, perception is, do you see it? And investigation is, you have seen it. What is it? How does it work? Why? Like, it's the finer details of it, right?
Yes.
So
we have perception. It is do you see it and do you perceive it? But that is directly tied to your class. Still wisdom based, but your class decides how good you are at it. Where a ranger's probably going to be really good at it, and I don't know who would be bad at it, but maybe your wizard, because they're too busy looking at their spell book. Nerd.
But you're barbarian, maybe?
I don't know. They tend to be a little aware of things. They're just waiting for the next neck they can snap.
True. So you have medicine. I've got medicine as well. Same thing. What do you have after medicine?
Yep, nature.
Yeah, same thing.
Then I have occultism.
We don't have that.
No, you do not. I think occultism is more of a derivative of your arcana, because remember how I specified a few times that arcana was arcane magic and that kind of stuff. Occultism is more of ancient philosophies, esoteric lore, obscure mysticism, and supernatural creatures. I read that from, well, I'll say the book, but it was a computer.
Yeah, we don't have that. We have arcana pretty much covers all of it. I just want to point out, do you have religion as well as a skill?
Yes, we do. I do have religion. I have performance in between religion and occultism, though.
Yeah, we've got performance and persuasion and perception, right? But so
yeah.
And I think performance is the same. So just really quickly, the difference in D&D between arcana and religion is arcana is recall lore about spells, magic items, and the planes of existence. Religion is recall lore about gods, religious rituals, and holy symbols. There's nothing for recall lore about creatures. That's not a thing that exists. If you want historical events, peoples, nations, and cultures, including like superstitions or things like that, you might be looking at history, or maybe depending on the superstition, it might be a religion check, right? But when it comes to actual animals, I've had to do my own kind of heavy lifting on this and say, okay, based on the type of creature it is, it will be different things. If, for example, it's a plant creature that you want to to look into, then it would have to be actually a nature check if it for plants and beasts. For things like aberrations or monstrosities or dragons, or sorry, not dragons, monstrosities or aberrations. There's another one too. Fae. Then that is Arcana because it's about planes of existence and whatnot. But when it comes to dragons and giants, they're so tied in, and humanoids, they're so fucking tied into the history of the world that's a history check. So I've had to, like, by creature type, figure this shit out, right? Depending on
Every monster stat block you go to on Archives of Nethys will tell you the skill, the DC, the specific lore DC, and the unspecific lore DC. Every single monster has that.
And that is what I want out of a bestiary. I desperately fucking want that out of a bestiary. We used to have more shit like that, including like how many of them tend to operate together. What are the tactics that they used to use? This shit existed in previous editions. It doesn't exist in 5th edition or 5.5. And I miss the shit out of that. That would be so fucking useful to have.
Oh yeah, pull up any of those creatures you mentioned. A red dragon, let's see. They're level 14. It's a DC 32 Arcana. If you have an unspecific lore, it's DC 30. If you have a specific lore, it's DC 27.
What's the difference between unspecific and specific?
So lores are very open to the DM. So it's what is it that you have studied? So I have talked previously about my favorite DMPC, Dr. Pinstripe, the circus clown. He has lore clowns.
Okay.
It is essentially, the lore is a text box that you work with your DM on what it is, that lore that you learn, and then it's up to the GM to decide, is that lore specific to that creature or not specific to that creature? Or am I even going to let them use it? I'm not going to let you roll clown lore on a red dragon. Some people may think red dragons are clowns, but that's another story.
But you don't say that in public, because if the red dragon hears you, you're fucked. So
exactly.
Okay, so the idea is if you have ranks in it, then it is specific. If you don't, and it's just a general lore roll, it's unspecified, and so the DC is higher.
Yeah, if I have like cave lore and I'm like, is this a dragon lair? I'll give that specific lore. You're gonna notice the telltale signs of a cave that would be lived in by a dragon.
Yeah, this is the level of customizability that Pathfinder has that I think would be a barrier to new Dungeons and Dragons players. It's one of the things why we say D&D is a little bit more simplified. That's fine. Just roll an intelligence check. Yeah, you know this, or you can remember.
Yeah,
it, right?
And now we've fit to why I want to make Fistful of Flowers a D&D, so I can have my friends who have never played D&D but want to play come play my favorite one shot.
Yeah. So after religion, what do you have?
After religion, I have to click back to the tab and see that I have society.
The fuck is society?
It's humans there, Adam.
Yeah, no,
it's what Dave hates.
I know I know the definition of the word, Scott. Thank you very much.
No, that is what it is. You understand the people and systems that make civilization run, and you know the historical events that make societies what they are today. Further, you can use that knowledge to navigate the complex physical, societal, and economic workings of settlements.
Okay, so this is going to be halfway between history and like gather information kind of thing.
It's if I'm trying to look at a bandit or if there's a knight who has a crest on his shield and I want to know about that crest. What house is he from? What's it all about?
Sure.
I'm doing a society roll.
Yeah, that would just be history in D&D. They just simplified the whole fucking thing. So
the next three are going to be easy. Stealth.
Yeah.
Survival.
Yeah.
Thievery.
Okay, and you skipped our sleight of hand. I think it's the same thing. The only difference is I like sleight of hand better than thievery because sometimes I can ask for a sleight of hand roll if they're trying to do something that does not include picking locks, stealing out of a pocket, or concealing a handheld object, something like that. If I want them to write calligraphy, for example, but they're not trained in it, I'm going to get them to roll something dexterity based, so not performance, which is charisma based, and sleight of hand fills that role, right? So I just it's almost like nimble fingers, right? Is kind of the idea with it, and so it's essentially the same thing. I also think that you guys have disarm and other mechanics that thievery will help with that we don't have in D&D. So it makes more sense to
Oh
have
no,
a skill.
disarm is athletics.
Oh yeah, it would be. Yeah. But can you steal in combat? Is that a thing you can do?
Yes, but no. Yes, steal is one action. So, and you don't have actions until you're in combat. So, yes, I suppose you can steal.
Okay, yeah, we don't have that. There's no mechanic for that. I mean, there would be sleight of hand, but yeah. Let me see. What do they call that?
No,
in the
you cannot
action?
steal their armor off their body.
Right? Yeah, it's not even listed as one of the things that you can do in the action options in the new player's handbook. So, yep.
Yeah, no, I tend to use thievery more at like D&D sleight of hand,
Yeah.
where if you wanted to palm an object is a thievery action that they have.
Yeah, it's just, that would just be a sleight of hand check. So,
Yeah, they're very similar. So,
Sure.
and those are all my skills. I'm done at thievery. I got nothing else.
And you just have the same basic 6 saves as well?
No,
Uh-huh.
no, I have fortitude, will, and dex, and that are all my saves.
Do you mean reflex for dex?
I do.
Okay, so that I remember from 3.5. We have the basic 6 and the hidden 7th, which is concentration, which I think you guys have too.
We do not.
You don't have concentration on spellcasting? If you cast something that takes like
No,
multiple
you have to.
rounds?
Yes, if you cast a spell that has to be sustained, you have to spend one action on your turn to sustain it. That's going to be your things like your fly. That's going to be your things like whatever hypnotic pattern equivalent would be. I'm not looking it up. I'm
Sure.
DM.
Yeah.
I don't cast spells. I throw fireballs at my players and they get grumpy.
Right, but
No,
is there any way to interrupt it?
instead of having concentration, no,
Interesting.
but it takes one of their 3 actions to keep it going.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's what the
Yeah, you have to sustain it.
sure. Yeah. Okay, I'm with you. I remember there was a trade-off.
So they can't interrupt it, but it takes up a resource that they have every single time their turn rolls around.
Yeah, that is I think a key feature in spellcasting that like I can't imagine running without concentration, but if I had to get rid of it, there would have to be some sort of penalty for these kind of like you say, spells that have to be sustained, right? So I like the fact that
Technically, a Pathfinder character can sustain 3 spells at once. But
which is
you are using, like, you can keep them going, but then I have to use one action to sustain each individual spell, and I only have 3 on my turn. So, first of all, I don't know how I'm getting the third one off. They usually cost at least 2 actions. But if I manage to have all 3 of them, I spend my whole turn every single time. I sustain all 3 spells. I can do literally nothing. I can't even walk. That's an action.
that's
I
wild.
just sit there and keep those spells going.
Wow, shit. I mean, that's a very different way of thinking about combat, which I would love to explore more, but it's very, very, very different. So
That's next time when we go over how do we port these 3 fights from Fistful of Flowers to 5th edition.
I'm gonna have a couple of different ways to do a couple of different ideas. So yeah, that's a great way for us to end this episode is stay tuned next time for anyway. Do you have any final thoughts, people, social media, projects, anything you want to shout out?
I got rid of all my social media at the beginning of summer, and boy, howdy have I never been happier. So none of that. Shout out to Joe because he said yes. And that's about it. Life is what you make it. Role-playing games are fun. Find the right people and have a good time.
Beautiful. So that's all for our discussion on, I guess, converting a fistful of flowers, part 1. Thank you, Scott, for choosing this topic, for workshopping this homebrew, and for supporting the Patreon, of course. And thanks to everyone else for listening to another episode of the It's a Mimic podcast. If you'd like to support us, we have a donate button on our website, it'samimic.com, a store with some It's a Mimic merch, and a Patreon. This episode and others can also be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and most other podcast apps. And thanks again for listening to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get, but you might get a little more if you come join our Discord. That's all for this Platinum Greatwyrm episode of the It's a Mimic podcast. This episode and others can also be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and most other podcast apps. Please take a second to engage with a like, follow, subscribe, comment, or review to help push our engagement. Thanks for listening to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get. If you'd like to support us, we have a store with some merch and a donate button on our website, itsamimic.com. You can also head to itsamimic.com to find a comprehensive episode guide and more information about the show. We do have a Patreon, which not only offers access to our exclusive Discord server, but also hosts over 100 episodes, including a variety of bonus episodes covering topics like 5th edition book reviews and the campaign builder, spells and gods, fae, homebrew inspiration, and even the Blood War. If you'd like to submit any mailbag questions, please reach out to us through any of the social media links in the show notes of this episode, or send us an email at info@itsamimic.com. This has been an episode of It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get.